Welcome to the Live Life Well podcast for busy women. As a busy mum myself, I totally get it. It can be really challenging to take time out to look after ourselves, and there's so much noise out there in the wellbeing space. So take this time out for you to get some really simple takeaways from me and my amazing guests on how to really take care of yourself, mind, body and soul. Because when women thrive, the world is a better place. Let's jump in. Well, hi there and welcome to the Live Life Well podcast for busy women. And I hope this is a space in your week where you can take some time for you and get some inspiration to think about how you want to live your life and look after yourself and feel as amazing as you deserve to do. And I'm really excited to introduce our guest today, who is a firecracker. She's got such great energy and I just love being in the room with you, Libby. So we have Libby with us today. Libby is a business coach, and I love your tagline, Libby, that you're a no BS coach for savvy business owners. And we're going to be talking today a bit about work-life balance, whatever that is, and whether that's achievable. But before we get into that, I'd just love you to introduce yourself a bit, Libby. And we're both got a lot in common. We're both coaches, we're both neurodiverse, and we both just got this passion to see women do well in life, I feel. So I love that you're here, and I'm really excited to hear what you're going to share with us. But yeah, please just tell us what I've not mentioned. What do we need to know about you?
Well, thank you very much for inviting me along. It's really nice to be here. Yeah, so I mean, you covered kind of the basics in the introduction, but yeah, I'm a business coach and have been for just coming up for 12 years now. It'll be 12 years on the 1st of December 2023. So I've worked with over 6,000 business owners and in that time, and I've seen and heard kind of almost every problem and every issue in that time. And it's that experience, I think, that's made me so rounded in what I help people with. But definitely my real passion is for helping people to work less, so be more efficient in what they do, to earn more, which means being more profitable, and just to love it, just to enjoy it and, you know, to live life well, right?
Right. That's what it's
to
about.
Be on brand.
Yes, of course. Thank you for that. And of course, I didn't mention you are a best-selling author. You also have your own fantastic podcast. So we'll pop the links to all that in the show notes. So definitely check all of those out because they're fantastic.
Fab. Thanks.
So like you said, Libby, you are passionate about helping others to live life well. What does that look like for you? When you hear that phrase, what does that mean to you?
Well, when I first started in business all those years ago, the thing that was kind of drummed into us in any program, I was in a few kind of entrepreneurial programs right at the start, and it was always build a team, build a business, build £1 million business. And that's kind of what you're told to do. And when you don't know anything else, then obviously that's kind of what you aim for, right? Because you want to do it right. And to me, that's just not living life well, because I don't want £1 million business. I don't want all the hassle and aggro that goes with that. You know, I had a team in my business and I made the decision to change that. And unfortunately, I made them all, well, unfortunately for them, I made them all redundant and I went back to working at home on my own. And it's been a much better decision for me, because it's living life well is about making conscious decisions for yourself, and that unashamedly, unapologetically doing that and driving forward in the way that you want to. And so many of the people who come to me, so many people who work with me, they're really busy and they're kind of really tired and they've lost sight of why they're in business anyway. So it's about having the balance, and not just the whole cliched work-life balance. It's not that. It's about making conscious decisions and knowing that sometimes things will be tougher because you want to push, but that push will get you to where you want to be, rather than just hustling, right? For the sake of hustling.
Sure. Yeah, there's so much out there, isn't there? I think as business owners, there's so many, you see all these posts on social media, join this workshop to have a $5 million month or whatever, but what they don't tell you about is the cost to that, the cost to having a business at that level. And you're right, like we shouldn't feel that pressure to have that if that's not fit for the life that we want, because it is a balance of how much you want to give to something and how much you get from it. And it's not all about hitting those $1 million months, is it? It's about having the life that you choose, like you say, and taking that step back to think about what it is you want. And it's great that you can help people take that step back and support them to figure out what is important to them. And that's why coaching is really important sometimes, isn't it? To have that person to help you look at things and make those decisions.
It is, and quite a lot of the time with my clients, they'll be talking about something, because a lot of them are neurodivergent too, not necessarily diagnosed, but certainly self-diagnosed, or think they might well be. And so there's loads of ideas, right? These are smart people. These are people who have lots of ideas and can achieve lots of different things. But I have to say to them, sometimes I just shake my head as they're talking, and they're like, oh, so I don't need to do that. And I'm like, write the idea down, congratulate yourself on how brilliant you are, and then just put it in a drawer. You don't need to do everything. And it's quite difficult for us sometimes to control ourselves, particularly when we do work on our own, because we want to do lots of things and we want the shiny, exciting things. But actually, we want that. But what we really want is a life that makes us happy, and a business that satisfies us and funds the life that we want to live. Ultimately, kind of that's the goal. And you can't have all the ideas and implement all the things and then still have the life that you want. They just don't match. So my job a lot of the time is just reminding people what they said they wanted, and kind of keeping them on track with that.
Yeah, that's a really good exercise to do, actually, is to think about the life that you want and what income you would need for that. And it doesn't have to be the same income as the person next to you, does it? Or the people you see on Instagram. It's what is important to you and what do you need to make that happen. So that's a fantastic thing just to stop and think about. And that's a really good exercise for all of us. And I know we are going to be talking a lot about people in business today, like having your own business and creating a life balance with that. But I hope if you are listening and you don't have your own business, please stay tuned, because I know a lot of what Libby's going to share will apply to you too. If you are working, if you're a stay-at-home mum, we still all crave that balance and to be working towards the things that are important to us. So I'm sure you're still going to get great tips and nuggets to take away today. And as you were speaking there, I thought about a book called The One Thing. I've heard of it by Gary Keller, and that was a great book for me because I'm neurodivergent. I have loads of ideas. You want to do everything at once, but we literally as humans cannot focus on more than a couple of things at once. So it's a really good exercise too, just to stop and think, what is the things that are most important to me right now, and how do I work towards those? Instead of trying to do everything all at once and getting nothing done, as we can definitely be tempted to do, go after that new shiny thing. So that's a great thing to think about too. So just thinking then about this idea of work-life balance, and I do question sometimes if that's possible. And like you were saying, there'll be seasons in life where things are more full on, you're working towards a big important goal that's going to make a difference to your life, and things will feel a bit out of balance at those times. But tell us what it means to you, Libby. What's your idea of work-life balance? What does that look like for you, and do you think it's something that we can achieve as busy women?
Well, I mean, what work-life balance looks like to me is different to what it looks like to anybody else. So, yes, people can absolutely achieve whatever it means to them, but they need to know what it means to them, and they need to kind of be honest about that. And certainly when I start working with clients, they'll say, "Oh, I want to do, I want to have 15K months." Like, okay, but do you? Oh, no, actually, I'd like to work 10 till 3, Monday to Wednesday. Right, okay, so let's focus on that first, because it's a completely different approach to business. But for me, I like working from home. I like being on my own and working on my own. I'm really productive that way. And it's better for my energy. I know that I run out of steam quite quickly. So minimizing the amount of outside time or people time is kind of quite important to me. And that's really just about knowing yourself, which is an exercise that we can kind of all do, of just being honest with ourselves about how we really feel about stuff. And if you're tired, well, what have you been doing that week that's made you tired? And you've probably just been doing too much, and that's okay to say no to stuff. And I don't work evenings. Well, very, very occasionally. This week I've done I did a talk for the East Midlands Chamber about my book, actually. But so that was different. That was a real exception. But I won't do client calls in an evening. I don't do things at weekends. I don't do client work on Mondays or Fridays. And these are all boundaries that I've put in place with my business. And I think the fear initially with people in business or just in life, is if you say no to things, or if you say, oh, this is the day that I do that, you'll alienate people, or people won't want to work with you, or you'll lose friendships or something like that. And it's just not true. I've had clients say to me, oh, your Monday's a good day for me. And I'll say, well, I've got Tuesday at 10. You don't have to over explain these things. It's about making conscious decisions that work for you.
Yeah, and I think as women, sometimes we almost forget what it is we want or what's important to us. Do you have any tips for just sort of stopping and figuring that out? Even, if life's got so busy and we have so many demands on us, it could be our business, our work, our families. How do we even remember what those things are that are important to us? Sometimes we lose ourselves, don't we?
Yeah, sometimes you just don't. This is there is no magic solution to this at all, and it's a case of doing a little bit better each time. That's the simple truth of it. You can't suddenly be cured and brilliant and so structured that nothing ever goes wrong and you never lose your way. I mean, not just anyone who told you that that's possible isn't telling the truth, but you can certainly be a little bit better and a little bit more conscious in your decisions. And I think having the focus on what it is you actually want to achieve in the things that you can control, that's really important, because some stuff, if you've got kids and the kids are playing up or whatever, then that's just something that happens. If your car breaks down, that's just something that happens. And it's how you deal with those things, how you choose to kind of respond to those things that makes a difference. But certainly the same in business. If you get a nightmare client, if somebody doesn't pay you, you can learn from all of these experiences, and you can put structures in place to prevent them happening again. And also you can just think, well, that's a rite of passage of business. Yay, I've had my first refund request. Right, tick. I'm a proper business person now, because this is all stuff that's going to happen to everybody.
Yeah, it's a bit like feeding your tax return and having to pay tax. I'm like, it's a great problem to pay tax because it shows you're doing well. And if you're making mistakes, you're doing well. You're putting yourself out there. So it's all good. And from what you're saying, it sounds like it is just digging down into what's important to us and what do we really want our lives to look like and what are the steps to get there. And the way you're talking about your business, it's like you've thought about what is it that gives me joy and energy. Like, I love the idea of pursuing joy in our lives, because if we're not, then what's it about? But also looking at what sort of gives us energy and what steals our energy, and trying to structure our lives in a way that we're supporting our energy, because our energy is everything. If you don't have energy, you can't do anything. So looking after ourselves, which is obviously what I'm really passionate about, physically, but also, like you're saying, thinking about what your personality is like. Are you an introvert? Are you an extrovert? Where do you get your energy? And then building your life in a way that supports that, so that then you feel at your best, but you're also giving your best. Because you seeing clients at night, it's not only doing a disservice to yourself, because you're not going to enjoy it, but they're not going to get the best of you either, are you? I loved also what you're saying about having faith that when you figure that stuff out and you put those boundaries in place, that there will be enough. Like, you're not going to miss out, but actually you'll probably gain something, because you will be giving your best in those concentrated amounts of time. How do you, when you sort of structure your weeks, your Mondays and Fridays are non-client facing, you don't do evenings, so how do you kind of maximize the time when you are focusing on your business to make sure it is successful and it is generating the income that you want it to? How do you sort of focus those times?
Yeah, well, so Mondays are kind of my get my head what was I doing kind of days.
Yeah.
And I often record my own podcast on a Monday, and I kind of perhaps schedule some social media content. It's kind of that Monday is a day for me to work on my business. So it's very much business owner today, CEO mode, whatever you want to call it. That's Mondays for me. And then So meetings and client calls and anything else, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, that's fine. I'll still have time in the office, but I know that it's going to be disrupted time. Because for me, because I'm ADHD and autistic, I was diagnosed as autistic about 6 months ago, which, I mean, that's a curveball that life threw at me.
Sure.
But I know that, and you will empathise with this, that if there's a meeting at, like, say, 10:30, there's a meeting, nothing happens before 10:30 because you've got the meeting. And with all the goodwill in the world, it's like, well, I've got a meeting at 10:30, or I've got to go out this afternoon, therefore I'm going out this afternoon. That's kind of the thing. And it sounds as if it's not productive, but I know that that's the way my brain works. And so I just accept that. And I don't try and push myself. And I will allocate time in my diary for writing some content, recording a podcast. It's all kind of structured in my diary when the time is, so that nobody else can book a calendar call in those times, because I know I've got things that I want to do. And in terms of what you asked about kind of growing the business and being successful, I've been in business a long time, so I have a kind of reasonable reputation, and I've met so many people and done so much networking over the years that I have social media and an email list, so there's kind of a market there that I keep in constant touch with. But I do just have faith that it will. I trust in myself that I've done enough good work over the years for that to kind of happen. And I think the fact that I talk so openly and honestly about my own experience, people are drawn to me because of that. But what's an interesting thing about business structure is that I've consciously chosen to have a business structure that isn't really scalable, in that I work one-to-one with clients. So there are only so many hours in a day, right? Or so many hours you choose to work. And I've chosen to do that because it's the work that I enjoy. And I've previously had group programs where you can have 300 people. You can scale it. I don't like it. I don't find there's not enough touch with the people. There's not enough, I like to see the whites of people's eyes and know that I'm making a difference to them, and be able to like really answer the questions that they've really got, rather than just giving them the kind of solutions.
What you think they need,
Yeah, for sure. So that was a conscious decision for me, which again is not what we should do, right? It's not what we're told to do, but that's okay. So there is a limit on what I will ever be able to earn, but that's okay. I know that I run on a 75% profit margin on average. I know all my numbers, and I'm cool with that because it works for me and it works for my husband, and my cat's happy that I'm here a lot, and all that. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I love that. And we can get caught up in that mindset. You have to do more, you have to grow bigger. But it's so important, like you're saying, it's such a good check-in to just stop and think, what is that I want? And why did I start this business? What is it I love about it? And if you don't love it anymore, there's no point. And the joys of having your own business are that you can choose what you do. You can choose the days you work. You can choose your hours. So if we're not doing that, we might as well just go back to the office, really. If we're becoming slaves to these goals that we haven't even set for ourselves. So that's a really good check-in. And
so many people do that, particularly when they start the business, because they've perhaps done the job in another company and set up on their own, or bought a franchise, something like that. So it's like you don't necessarily have the business skills or the confidence in yourself as a business owner to kind of make these, because some of them are tough decisions and they seem counterintuitive, but it's through experience that you just think, yeah, do you know what? This is what I want to do, and this is the reason I'm doing it. I don't want to get a job. So I need to make this successful for me and work for me and make me happy. It's all about you. It has to be.
Right. And that's really liberating. It's really liberating to think that, like, actually, I can make this the business that I want it to be. There was a time there, it sort of eased up a bit recently, but there was all these sort of master classes being promoted by these big names in the like personal development world, business world. And it was a lot of that about making high income months, and you can get caught up in it so easily. And also the trap of comparison to other people. But I just love what you're bringing up here and just giving us that little challenge to think about what it is we really want and make those decisions that bring us closer to that. And I really like that you talked about that being a journey for you. You've come from a corporate background, you've you've started your own business, and you've got to the point now where your business is where you want it to be, and that's really inspiring. But I guess for people listening, if they're just starting a business, or they've had a business for a few years, or they're thinking about it, it's knowing that it takes time to get it to where you want it to be, isn't it? And again, taking that pressure off yourself and just figuring it out. It's experimenting, isn't it, with different things that work for you. So I guess it's taken you a little while to get it to this point, to figure out how you want it to be.
Nearly 12 years, yeah.
Yeah,
Since the day I started. I mean, the thing is, I've always worked with business owners, and I've always done kind of business coaching, marketing strategy, business strategy. It's always been along the same vein, but the way I've delivered it has varied enormously. And that to me, that's one of the incredible things that ticks that neurodiverse shiny object box. It's like, oh no, I don't have to do this anymore. I can do that thing. And I don't necessarily recommend that as a business strategy, but you can flex and change. And what I wanted to do 12 years ago, oh my God, I haven't got the energy for that now. It's like, I worked the first few years, 5 years probably being in business, I worked 12-hour day. I worked really hard. Everybody knew me. I was at every networking event. I was training all over the country, doing training online for people in social media and marketing, business strategy. And, kind of it was full on, and I got the office and I built the team, and we did a lot of social media management for people. We did kind of really intense, high touch point stuff. And it's just like, I don't want to do this. What am I doing? I've built a job for myself.
Right.
I've basically built a job for myself. And it just, I went to a conference in the States, and I was talking to some kind of business friends over there. And I said, I'm not happy. I'm not happy. And they said, why don't you change it? Like, oh yeah. So I did. I came home, made all my stuff redundant, gave up the office, went back home like I've already said. And that's kind of when I really started making the conscious decisions about what I wanted to do. And that was 8 years ago. It was 2015. So in the last 8 years, I have thought much more about what do I want to do.
Yeah, and I think being really clear about that actually gives your clients a lot of clarity. I know I've stripped what I offer right back to this, I guess, less than a handful of services. When someone asks me what I do, I can just tell them I do this, this, and this.
Yeah.
Before it was all a bit vague and wishy-washy, and sometimes you meet, you'll know what I mean when you out network and you meet people and you say, what do you do in your business? And they're like, I do a bit of this and I do a bit of that and I do this too. And you're just like, what do you do? But if you know what it is you do, and like you were saying, you can be scared of limiting what you offer in case you're excluding certain clients. But actually, if you're offering so much to people that you're confusing them, you're going to be losing clients anyway. So actually having been really clear about what you do, what you want to do, and what parts of your business give you joy, and focusing on them, you're going to attract the right clients. You're going to be clear about your offering, aren't you?
Yeah, it's so true. And it's easy. Sometimes that it feels really difficult for us to do that, because particularly as women, like you touched on earlier, we're the caregivers, right? We're the ones who have the children, look after children, do this. Not always, but think about what everyone's having for dinner. Think about the packed lunches. Think about care for the parents. All this we by society, and I suppose by our genetic makeup to a certain extent, that's kind of our role. So which is a whole different subject. Don't get me started on that. Sure. But we often kind of take that on in our business as well. So women will often undercharge, over deliver, all these things. I help all my clients with this. But when I say to people, right, who do you want to work with? What do you want to help them with? What do you do? Then there is this kind of wishy-washy stuff. But if you think about brands, like the big brands, you think about Lamborghini, what do? They make luxury sports cars. That's what they do.
That's
right.
It.
You think about Asda, the supermarket, they do cheaper or lower priced food for busy families, right? That's what their ads are all about. That's who they aim at. It's, if you think about another supermarket, you think about Waitrose. They do lovely, nice food. Go on, treat yourself. Kind of, it's a nice experience, but it's different. We could all say that for pretty much any brand that's out there. And yet when it comes to our own businesses, often because we are the brand as well,
right?
Then, well, I can help you with this, and I can help you with this, and I can help you with this. And I mean, I can help business owners with 100 different things, right? But in the nutshell, it's to simplify your business and to make more profit. And then you get into the conversation and it can go wherever you need it to, but you've got to have this clearer message, or people will just go, yeah, I don't really know. And if you don't really know either, how can you do any marketing? So then you start thinking, oh, my marketing's not working, and it just is. But yeah, making that decision of, I am a headshot photographer for businesses. I am a wedding photographer. I am a newborns photographer. You've got to kind of say specifically what you do, and then people can resonate with you or self-select that you're for them or not for them. And that's great. It just makes it easier to get more clients.
Absolutely. And it goes back to that having faith that there will be enough out there for you, and actually more if you're clear about what you're offering. So I'm just thinking about people that are maybe a bit confused about what it is they're offering, or also I'm thinking about people, like a lot of women we come across who are maybe want to start their own businesses or work part-time and have their own businesses and want to focus more on their businesses, and life is just crazy, and they're like, how do I make that transition? So obviously they should come and speak to you, like we know that, but for the sake of the podcast and giving people just a little few takeaways, what are things we can do just to work towards finding that sweet spot of being in our in this in that place of just doing what we love and offering what we want to people, and our lives having that balance that we want them to? How do we move towards there? What are your top tips?
First thing to do is to start saying no to stuff.
Right.
Absolutely.
Love it.
So all the things, if you're wanting to transition from work to business, then you've got to make a decision about when you're going to give up the job and move into the business, because it's quite hard to do them together. People do, but it's quite hard, and it's a lot of there's a lot of effort to do that, but obviously finances come into it. But if you say no to this getting me to where I need to be, no, right, well, don't do it then. And that goes hand in hand with making the decision about what it is you actually want to achieve. So if you say, I want to start a business, or I want to grow my business that I've had for 5 years, or why? What is it? What's the motivation? And if you have your motivation clear and then that goal clear in your mind, it will just be much easier. And I say to everybody, that just say no to it. Just say no to it. If you think, oh, well, maybe I should go to that meeting, I don't know. No, you don't have to. You can say no to that. You can say no to everything. Just say no. As Zamo said back in the 80s.
Yes. It's a full sentence. I love that. No's a full sentence.
Yeah, it is. It is.
But we try to justify it as women quite often. But you're so right. And I actually the last podcast I did was actually about saying no, because I think it's something we do struggle with. But everything we say yes to is a no to something else that's probably really important to us. So it's really important. And yeah, it's having that clear why. Yeah. Too. And I was just thinking of something that really helped me on my journey, because I was definitely that person that would say yes to everything, because there'd be there's always good things you could do. You have lots of ideas, you get good opportunities, but they're not always taking you in the right direction, and distractions. That's
the difference. It's like, I'm kind of in a phase of business where we're at the moment where I guess, which the book has facilitated and the podcast has facilitated to a certain extent, that I'm being offered all sorts of interesting opportunities. And I'm saying yes to quite a few things. But again, it's a conscious choice as what you sort of position yourself as. And in the early stages, God, yeah, you say yes to everything because you don't know where it's going to go and you need the money, and it's really different. But saying no to things doesn't mean that, you say to me, would you like to be a guest on your podcast? And I say, nope, it's not that. It's about sitting with a decision and thinking whether it feels right for you and it is right for where you want to go. So it depends the stage of life you're at, the stage of business you're at, your financial situation, all of that. But, the expression is, what if it's not a hell yes, then it's a hell no.
Yeah. It's a good thing to ask yourself. And something else that helps me is a Brené Brown exercise from her leadership book, Dare to Lead. And It's a list of values. I don't know if you've seen it. I'll pop a link in the notes.
Yeah, I was just looking at my bookcase. I've got the book over there.
Yeah, it's so good. It's so good. I've not even read the whole book, but I've done the values exercise. And there's this big page with like 100 different values, and you circle the ones that are important to you. Then you narrow it down to like 2 or 3 that are what you would like live and die on, what you'd like hang your cross on. And it's helped me so much, because now if I'm asked to do something, especially as you're getting a bit older, I'm in my 40s now, I realise that we don't live forever, and you want your life to count. You want it to count for what you care about. And doing that exercise has been such a game changer for me to know what to say yes or no to. I'm like, does that align with my values, and does it get me closer to my goals? And if not, even if it's a good opportunity, I have to say no. And that's been so helpful and so liberating. So yeah, these are all really great things to think about, and really good food for thought, I would say. And yeah, I think what you said as well about, depending on what stage you're at in your business, you don't always know exactly where you want to be when you start. It's a bit like when you leave school, you're like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And you're like, I don't know. Like, I'm still not sure that I know. So yeah, try different things. Take the opportunities when you're not, until you're clear, because those wrong decisions will help you figure out the right ones and help you figure out what it is you want to do. So
yeah, I agree.
Yeah, just have fun trying things, but then it gets to a point where you've got to like narrow in, don't you?
And also
make it count.
Just a caveat to that, make sure that what the opportunities you're saying yes to, or the things that you're doing, make sure it's profitable.
Right.
Because lots of things, that's business coach again, but lots of things that you'd be offered, if you factor in the time to get there, the prep, all of this, you might as well have a job working in Sainsbury's, for what you'd kind of work
volunteering
for sure. Yeah, for sure. For what you'd kind of get in terms of an hourly rate or return on it. And it's not just all about money. I'm not saying we're all in this to make money, but it is a business. And so, that's the reason for doing it. And the more money that you make, the more you are then able to make conscious decisions to do some volunteering or to support people.
Right.
But if you're not making the money, then you can't do that. And if your house is in danger, then that's something's not right in the kind of balance of what you're doing. But yeah, make sure whatever it is profitable and fun and a learning experience.
Fun is also very important, but I think you're so right, and I'm sure you help people with things like money mindset, but a lot of it just comes back to knowing your worth and knowing your value. And it's okay to do something that's maybe not paid if it's going to definitely lead to something that's
for sure
pays really well. But like you say, it's like checking in and think, am I like charging my worth? Do I know my value? And believing in yourself. So good stuff, such good stuff. So yes, if you're listening, just take a bit of time out maybe after this to just journal for a bit, think about what those things are that are important to you. Where do you want your life to move towards? What brings you joy? What is it you love doing? And how can it make you an income that can allow you the life that you want to live? But also speak to Libby, because she's fabulous, as you have figured out.
Of course.
So Libby, tell us where we can find you and hang out with you and keep chatting with you. Tell us the name of your book, tell us the name of your podcast, tell us all the things.
Okay. Well, if you search for Libby Langley, you'll find me almost anywhere. But I am most active on social media on Instagram, which is at Libby Langley, and LinkedIn too. If you just search for Libby Langley on LinkedIn, you'll find me. My website is libbylangley.com. My book and my podcast are both called Life in Business. So the book is on Amazon, on Kindle, and in paperback, and the podcast is available wherever you listen to podcasts, and there's a new episode every Thursday. It comes out with that.
Amazing. So definitely listen. It's great. I do. And we'll pop all those links in the notes so you can find Libby and keep the conversation going, and definitely follow on Instagram. It's gorgeous and inspiring, so do that too. And just a funny little story about you're talking about when you have a meeting at 10:30 and you can't do anything before that. We're recording this at 10:30.
I know, that's why I said
exactly the same this morning. I was like, I could do an hour of work on my business, or I could just like look at social media until I'm speaking to Libby, which is ridiculous. But yes, it's what we do, isn't it?
Such is the neurodivergent mind, though, eh?
Right. At least it's like I've got a thing and I can't forget about the thing. Yeah.
At least we know it and accept it and don't beat ourselves up for it, and it's fine. So yeah.
Hey, acceptance is the key, and knowing that we're not alone. That's good to know too. Fabulous. So Libby, just for fun to end, tell us, we'd love to know, because we love talking about food on this podcast, what would you have for your last meal on this earth?
Well, I really, really like Michelin star dining. I love me a fancy tasting menu.
Quite right.
So, yeah, if I was allowed to go to a restaurant,
Of course.
then I would probably go to, it's a choice, either Sketch in London, which is a 3-star Michelin star place, or the Forest Side up in the Lake District, where we go and stay for a couple of nights most years, and it's just a stunning location and it's a stunning meal. So something fancy like that. But if I wasn't allowed to go anywhere and it had to be delivery, then it'd be pizza.
Okay, sure. I mean, it's got everything, hasn't it? It's got your food groups.
Absolutely.
I hear from this that you're not cooking for your last meal. That's not happening.
No, I mean, I quite like cooking, but no, my last meal, I was like, no, someone else can do that, and I can just sit there and either be waited on or like watch the telly or something.
Delivered to.
Sure.
Go full fancy. Love it. Yeah. Oh, thank you. Oh, Libby, thank you so much. It's been really great to chat. And I know as a woman in business, this has been really helpful for me to think about what I want my business to look like. And I hope you've been inspired if you're listening to. I know you will have been. So thank you so much for your time today. Keep in touch with Libby. She's fantastic. And thank you for your time, Libby.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening today. Remember, you can subscribe and share this episode with someone that you think might find it helpful. I'd love to stay in touch. You can find me over on Instagram at JoLiveLifeWell or at livelifewellness.co.uk, where you can find all the details of my coaching courses, workshops and retreats. Remember to keep looking after you, because you are precious and worthy of feeling amazing. See you all soon.